What's up, guys? You're watching Boy TV, and we are back with another reaction. Today we'll be reacting to The Mountain, the Moon Cave, and The Sad God by Gorillaz. I stumbled upon this one and decided to check it out. This is actually a special reaction because it'll be the first time I'm reacting to a new Gorillaz release. I've heard some of their old hits and classic, but this is something that we all kind of get to experience together, like brand new, along with their visuals. So I'm pretty excited about this. If you are a returning viewer to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It helps out the channel a ton. There are 100,000 of you guys that watch my videos and return to my videos, but over 85% of you guys are not subscribed. I know it can be easy to forget because my videos just pop up. I do the same thing sometimes. If this is your first time to the channel, I am new to the rock genre, exploring the mini classic rabbit holes, having a blast. If you want to join me on that journey, take a second to scroll down, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss a video when I post. It helps out the channel tremendously. And if you guys are interested in exclusive content or you want to ensure that I react to your suggestion, definitely consider checking out the Patreon. The link will be in the description. I have tons of reactions to classic songs. I got blocked here from YouTube, songs that I know you guys would enjoy. That being said, let's get right into this video.
Don't make it hard. I'ma let it slide, bet you I'ma like I'm in the sky. Look at how I wanna let the ideas just up high like a new hot. Good to be the GOAT, only way I is to treat it like it's gossiping. Yeah, watch this, yo, I can like no other guy, give me any. I'ma let it ride, bet you I'ma like I've been a vibe. I'ma just, yeah, check it. Yo, I can tell a sky pick for profit. When I flow top, pick the topic. Is it hip hop? Is it gothic? Can it fit into the corner pocket? Is it hovering above the surface? Is the pain where the megahertz is? Where the mass is? Where the church is? Are the last days where the earth is? It's a movie, listen to me. They have given the permission to me to move like Mr. Halloumi. If I leave here, don't pursue me. Let me flow topic to topic. From the posh tip to the mosh pit, to the ghost watch and the folks clock and the most popular optics. Spread it all around from the small town to the empire, spin a fall down. From the energy to bring the wall down, or the mothership gon' call down like Orson. The heat gon' be scorching, the beat gon' need voices. The sound downright awesome, but downtown like different than the sounds y'all like. Let me break it down for 'em like, hold up.
Ooh.
I gave you white sounds, you weaponized. I gave you garlands, you closed your eyes. In paradise.
Okay. Credits, I think. Yeah, just credits. Man, this was some deep stuff from Gorillaz. There was a lot going on in this video, and I'm sure I'm gonna miss a few things. Tons of symbolism in here and references like the Jungle Book theme. I'm sure Disney's getting a big cut of these visuals. There's tons of references to different Hindu gods here. I saw a reference to this Indian guy who I think has been like holding his hand up in the air for like, 40 or 50 years or something like that. I believe he's doing like a protest for world peace, and his arm is like basically stuck like that permanently. So even that alone gives a lot of context to this song. This song was really slow burn. There was a lot of room for like, the storytelling of the visuals. And there were also like very distinct like sections of this song. I really enjoyed the various flutes throughout. They were helping to like float you along. Love the sound of the sitar in here as well. It added to like the mystical feeling of what was going on here. The violins were heavy in here at certain points, and the song got super pop in one section, so the beat was going, the bass line was nice, and it was a really nice mix of like all the elements. Then they just kind of put them together. Really neat stuff here. I feel like the visuals really add a component that you wouldn't be able to get just by listening to the music. Well, at least not fully, because like the music is very emotional and like takes you on a ride, but the visuals definitely add to it. There's definitely a ton going on here. They're obviously going on a journey to do something, and at the end they're kind of like sinking to the bottom of that body of water, but then it turns into like the world. Obviously this was built around a Jungle Book aesthetic. You got the snake in there, you got Shere Khan, the girl floating on top of the guy, he's acting as Blue the bear. So it's really a lot to analyze on your first take. You'd have to watch this a couple times through to really pick out, you know, everything that's going on. But with that being said, let's go ahead and check out these lyrics. You guys let me know what I missed in the video. He said, I gave you love to fill old glory, I gave you dreams, you wrote the story, I gave you white sails to reach the sun, I gave you atoms, you built a bomb. Now there is nothing and I have gone. No more mountains, no more song, no more prayers sent up into space, only screens left to see your face. Man, some really deep stuff being said here. So he's speaking from the perspective of a creator god. I'm not sure which one in particular, but the god is saying that I gave you good things so that you could do good with them, and you turned them into bad things in a sense. He said, I gave you dreams, but you wrote the story, so you kind of took it the way that you wanted it to go. He said, I gave you atoms and you built a bomb. So basically the evil desire of humans turned what was supposed to be good into bad. This god that they're talking about had a certain vision for how things were supposed to go, and humans kind of put their own spin on it. They took matter, they took atoms, and you know, created weapons of mass destruction. He gave them dreams and visions, and they turned them into nightmares. In other words, the humans are removing the beautiful parts of creation and also losing their desire for him, this god. He said, now there is nothing and I have gone. No more mountains, no more songs, no more prayers sent up into space, and only screens left to see your face. So the takeover of technology has isolated them from this god. The connection they once had has kind of been replaced. Now people are constantly bombarded with information and stimulation that they don't really consider anything beyond the next second, or like what information they could gorge themselves on. Their attention span is just shrunk down. I'm gonna break the second verse up into two parts because it's so long, but he says, yeah, I got intel through the inkwell. Yeah, you do well when you think well, and people are more likely to try to give you hell when you bring hell. It ain't got to begin well, but it's all well if it end well. And then well, a man still gotta mean well and intend well, even in hell. You were dating misery's friend of a friend girl, the guard fell, and a light broke through the hard shell of an incel. Trapped inside of a statue, scratched vinyl in a back room, accumulating in the vacuum, and ruminating in the bathroom, just an illustration in a tattoo. Blood moon, blue black moon. Okay, so a lot of words there, but he's basically talking about how you should act like when you're going through a tough time. He's explaining some basics of like human behavior. He said you do well when you think well. So when you're able to process and think through things, you have better outcomes in life. And he's basically saying like you reap what you sow. He said people are more likely to try to give you hell when you bring hell. So when you act and respond a certain way to things, you elicit a certain response from your environment. So when you're a loose cannon, you have no control. That same volatile energy comes back to you. Another thing he's saying is that even when you're going through tough things, you need to control what you can control. Just because something bad is happening to you or happened to you doesn't mean you have to put that back out into the world. You don't want to repay evil for evil. And these are biblical concepts. I believe Romans 12:17 says, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Next, he's kind of talking about like the current state of a lot of individuals. He said you were dating misery's friend of a friend. Light broke through the hard shell of an incel. And then he just talks about this person being like stagnant. He said accumulating in a vacuum, scratch vinyl in a back room, ruminating in a bathroom. All things pointing to a person that's kind of like trapped in a world of their own. They're not really having much community or connection with other people, and they're essentially caught in a cycle of like bad thoughts or bad thinking. Okay, second half of that verse, he says, even if they let me into heaven, I would probably just move back soon. That Dracula Nosferatu, oh la la Sassoon, Les Misraab, one little nod at you and I got you. Type of stuff to lay a clap track to. I can't say it ain't factual. The master remain natural should be the answer when they ask you of my advantage, the paradise you were handed like a pair of dice, and I'm living uninhibited, unlimited terabytes of. So there I think he's just kind of talking about himself and, you know, trying to seize the moment, take the opportunities that he's been dealt. At the beginning he talked about getting intel through the inkwell and basically like writing his songs. He's talking about not wanting the world to be perfect or enjoying living in the imperfect world. He said, even if they let me into heaven, I would probably come back soon. So this could be like exposing his dissatisfaction with life, or like just never being satisfied with anything, because like in heaven, essentially you would be like in a perfect place where nothing's wrong, and he's saying he would reject that, and maybe that's because of a dissatisfaction within himself. So there's a lot more I could say about this. It gets deep, but for the sake of time, I'll just go to the last verse. He says, I gave you blue skies, sweet fallacy. I gave you poppies for milady. I gave you white cells, you weaponized. I gave you garlands, you closed your eyes in paradise. So this is back to this God speaking, saying like, I gave you these good things to be used for your benefit, and you weaponized them. He said, I gave you white cells and you weaponized. Maybe that's, you know, some kind of jab talk. And he makes a couple references to flowers. He said poppies and garlands, but once again, people ignored them. He said you closed your eyes. So you didn't want to have these good things. You could choose to live at peace, but instead you want war. Like your white blood cells are supposed to be for your immune system, and you want to use it for biological warfare. So this song really focuses on the fallibility of man. People can't stop themselves from doing these things on their own. Even when they want to do good, they still fall short. And that's why Jesus Christ offered himself as a living sacrifice, so we can be reconciled back to God. In his first verse, he talks about this God kind of, you know, putting his hands up and, you know, stepping away from his creation, but there's not really a plan for redemption in this song. Man, this was some deep stuff. I'm glad I got to experience this new Gorillaz song with you guys. Let me know your interpretation of this song down in the comments, or if I missed anything in my analysis. If you guys have any recommendations, leave them down in the comments below. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the content. And I'll catch you guys on the flip.